See this guy here in blue? Look at this. He just steals a case with $2 million in super rare baseball cards. $2 million bucks. We're talking US dollars. Yeah, pretty crappy thing to see. Unfortunately, on today's show, we're looking at the $2 million theft from a big card show near Dallas, Texas in July. And this is a pretty big story, obviously, so I've clipped a few news broadcasts and some interviews that I think is really going to help explain some things. Want to spend a bit of time covering this story, because whether you collect baseball cards, hockey cards, basketball cards, whatever, this sucks, and you gotta feel for the owner of these cards. And that's the vendor running this table. And I think we can all learn a thing or two from what went down here. Now, what was stolen? The vendor of the table specializes in vintage, and so the owner of the cards say the case was full of classic baseball cards. Mickey Mantle, Jackie Robinson, Babe Ruth. And look at some of the prices on these. 52 Mantle, there's a bunch of copies. Rookie cards of Jackie Robinson, Hank Aaron, plus some T206 cards, and plus a bunch of others. In total, there's roughly 70 cards or so, totaling around $2 million. Okay, let's get back to how this theft occurred. How is this guy able to just walk away with this case? Because I think this is the really interesting part of the story. And something to watch out for if you're a seller, especially if you're a big seller at some of these types of shows. All right, let's take a closer look. So let's cut to one of the local news broadcasts where some of the police who are investigating this case explain what went down. Because as it turns out, this guy in blue wasn't working alone.
Based on the surveillance footage we've seen, it seems like this was a premeditated crime. It was all planned out.
So what we know at this time is it appears to be an organized group of individuals who came in right at kind of the end of the show.
And so the good news about this whole situation is that there is surveillance footage which captures the entire theft. I'll start zooming in on the area of the tables where the case was taken from. It's being run by Legacy Cards, and you can see their sign on one of the tables. There are 3 workers manning the tables, and these 3 guys are in charge of packing up the table at the end of the show. And you can see the guy in blue near the top of the screen. He's hanging around the table, waiting for the right moment to strike. And then at the perfect time when all 3 workers are distracted, boom, guy in blue quickly sneaks in, grabs the case, and sneaks off without anyone noticing. Can you spot the others working in tandem with him? There are 3 other guys in on the heist, so 4 total guys in on this scam. And then 3 of them are working together as a team to cause distractions by showing their phones to the unsuspecting workers. It's definitely a well-timed operation. Then once they have the case, the rest of the team quickly leaves the scene, and just like that, they're gone. So really quite the calculated theft. Were you able to see how it all played out? Well, I found an interview with a detective on the scene with a really good detailed explanation of what went down.
This is Detective Michael Cambiano, Allen Police Department. You had a card show theft here. Tell me what happened, sir.
Yes, sir. So Sunday on the 7th of July, we had a group of individuals, 4. 3 of the suspects were so they would distract the workers that were at the vendor booth. And then the 4th suspect moved in to the vendor booth and removed a case of cards and took the cards.
The value $2 million, we think?
Yes, the value would be somewhere between 1 to 5 to 2 million.
Well, definitely be careful out there, especially if you run a table of this size and you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in cards. But like I said, the good news is there's video footage, so hopefully someone recognizes at least one of these guys. But let's get back to our detective who shares another thing to watch out for.
Tell me about your 4 suspects and what we see on video. Looks like 3 of them are dressed alike.
Yes, so we have 3 suspects that distract. At the vendor booth, you have, they come up, hey, get the guy's attention. They're showing them their phones. And then there's a guy on the other side that's distracting the main suspect that takes the cards. He is acting as if he's working at the event. So he's stacking chairs, moving tables. He sees the perfect opportunity. Everybody's distracted. He's messing with a chair. He sees the opportunity, grabs the cards, and quickly exits the building.
Did you catch that? The guy in blue had been folding up chairs and stacking tables. So he was pretending to be one of the convention center staff. So some really sneaky stuff going on here. So fairly well thought out plan. But the one big problem for these clowns is that there's video footage. And I found a different angle of our guy in blue. So I think it's only a matter of time before people start to figure out who these guys are. So some of you might be wondering who owns these cards and is there anything funny going on here? Because I was reading some forums and some comments online. And there are some that speculate that this might have been a setup and possibly an insurance scam. So I hadn't heard of legacy cards before, but according to online sources, it sounds like he's been in the hobby for decades, and the general consensus is that he's one of the good guys. Seems like a bunch of people have been speaking up and vouching that he's a good dude in the hobby. So again, it sucks to see a good dealer get ripped off. And currently the owner of these stolen cards is offering a $70,000 reward. So hopefully that's a big incentive for someone to come forward. So yeah, I think these guys are going to get caught eventually. With all the video footage that gets shot at these shows from all the bloggers and YouTubers, and then now with this $70,000 reward out there, I think it's just a matter of time. So if you have any info that you think can lead to the arrest of any of these suspects, our lead detective is back again to wrap things up. And he seems to know a thing or two about sports cards, and has a really strong desire to crack this case.
I think I'm fascinated to know there's this much activity in trading cards, these vintage cards. Yeah. Is this a big business?
Yes. So in 2020, when COVID hit, a lot of people pulled out money out of investments and stuck it into the card market. So we saw a boom in the card market in 2020, and you have a lot more people getting into cards now. Professional athletes, you'll see, are really getting into it now. So it's just driving the price up.
What offends you about this crime, Detective Cambiano?
I also am involved in the card community outside of work. So it affects me at work. I want to solve this crime and find who did this. And I also have a lot of friends who are vendors in there. So it affects me in the community that I participate in outside of work, and as well as my job.
What do you need, Detective Cambiano?
I need someone that knows these people to come forward and provide a tip as to who they are. I also need anybody that was at this event that recorded, look through any video they have, and if they can find anything that these suspects walked by them in the video, to please email that to me.
Tell me your email.
michael.cambiano@cityofallen.org.
Get at Detective Michael Cambiano through his email. Help solve the crime of the theft at the Dallas Card Show this past weekend.
Well, if you recognize any of these suspects, if any of these guys look familiar to you, or if you notice them in other YouTube videos, and obviously if you see them around at a card show trying to sell some of these cards, you know who to get a hold of. And pretty interesting to know that the detective is a card collector. It's kind of cool. So reach out to him if you have any tips. And hey, you might even get a piece of that $70,000 reward. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.